Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Infinite Me, where every day we're talking about all things to do with living an infinite life and knowing ourselves already as infinite beings that we already are. And so we talk about you don't have to ascend to your powers, you don't have to awaken to them, you've already got them. It's just all about remembering who we truly are and coming back to that.
Yes.
And so over there is Nat, and I am Mandy. We are sisters. And as I said, every day we're having conversations in the moment. We choose a topic in the spur of the moment and we talk about that topic for the day and just see where it goes. So Yesterday's conversation was all about the idea of needing to process things that happen in our life. So we have events that take place or different emotions that keep arising, and we might say to ourselves, oh, I just need to process that. Or we feel like there is a process to becoming infinite, like we're not there yet, like we have to kind of do a whole bunch of things before we can finally step into that space of being infinite. So we talked all about that and how we feel that that's distracting us from the truth. Why can't we just go direct now to the knowingness that we are already infinite, because is the truth. So So it was an interesting discussion because there is a lot of spiritual communities that obviously talk a lot about processing emotions, and we ourselves have definitely got caught in that stuff for years as well. So check out that conversation. So if you haven't joined us before, what we do is we have a little bag which we call the Infinite Lucky Dip, which has got different topics in it that we've written out in the, when we've been sparked by something or a topic's just arisen for ourselves and we've thrown it in the bag. So we just choose one and see what's going to be the topic for today. So
all right. So while you're doing that, I'm going to say hello to Shantina. Did I spell it?
Shantina.
Shantina? Yeah. She's in the house. Hello. She's in the infinite house.
This one's okay. This one, orange. Self-love. I don't know if you can see.
Self-love. Okay.
Oh, I don't even remember writing that one. When do we write that? I can't remember.
I don't know. I don't remember that one either. Well, that's snuck itself in there.
Maybe I read that. I don't know. I can't remember.
I definitely don't remember that as one of my topics.
I don't either, actually. Oh, well.
Oh, there you go.
Choose another one.
It actually wanted us to talk about this.
Yes.
Neither of us wrote it. I just popped in there.
I can't remember. Maybe I did write it, but I can't remember. Some of them have been in there for quite a few weeks. So.
Yes. Yeah. So there you go. So Shatana said, oh, good one.
You could help us, Shatana.
Yeah. Right. Get in the mode of self-love.
Yes.
Very cool.
I don't know. I think the starting point I would feel is that everything that we've spoken about is if we are already an infinite being, like we're the one consciousness that's animating it all, and we're here in this human game in our various forms. So I'm in this body of Mandy, and Nat's over there, and all the different other people that we have in our storyline, they're all aspects of the one consciousness. Just individuated in the human game. So to me, the self-love would just be coming back to that knowingness that you are an infinite being, like moving back from the separation that we feel as a human, and identifying as our little body and our personality and our individual storyline. And we often sort of feel, well, I don't know, there's always this thing thrown around about you need to love yourself first before you can love somebody else. So to me, that would be that coming home to that remembrance that you already are love, you already are infinite. And so therefore the self-love would flow from that space of coming back to that total remembrance of who you are.
Sort of interesting, isn't it? Like you could almost argue that self-love doesn't even exist because it is coming from that sense of oneness.
Separation.
And that, to have self, like that anything that you're identifying with of the self means that you're somehow separate. So it really is that, like you're saying, coming back to remembering, well, you actually are love. Like it's impossible for you to even be separate from love in the first place, because that's actually all you are. So when we talk about the infinite, and the infinite is space, the only thing that fills that space is love. Love, and we're not talking about obviously human love here, like love for a partner or your mum and dad or family or whatever, your sister. It really talking about unconditional love, true unconditional love, which is very balanced, There's no positive or negative. There's no opposite to unconditional love. It is that, and everyone would have felt this because that's actually who you are, is that underlying sense of love that sits there through everything.
Mm.
So when we talk about self-love, to me, that means, does that mean like the human self? Then like, and all aspects of your human self. So, you know, your different behaviors and your personality and the different actions or inactions that you take, the different emotions that come up, all those sorts of things. So your expression here in, you know, your infinite self expressing itself through a human form is that what we're talking about when it comes to self-love? To me, that can only sort of mean that because from an infinite space, there's nothing but love.
Yes.
That's all there is. And everything else is actually an illusion. So it's almost, can we love the illusion? Can we love the game that we've created here on planet Earth? Because that's actually all it is. It is just a game. It is, all of it is an illusion at the end of the day. And it's just a storyline that we're playing. It's a bit like a movie. Can you love the movie and the characters in it?
Yeah, well, that makes sense then, what you're saying, because it is, if it is all our creation, then we've put it there for a reason. We've probably just forgotten why we've put it there sometimes, and we do get stuck in the stories that are showing up. So as you said, we do end up judging what's happening around us sometimes, or a relationship, particular relationship that we're in comes up too. But I think, as we spoke about yesterday when we were talking about processing and needing to process, or if we do, so talked about that idea that the only reason things exist outside of us anyway is to bring up those feelings within ourselves where we've forgotten ourselves, if you like, or hidden our power. So if something triggers us from the outside, it's nothing to do with that outside manifestation. It's always to do with coming back to ourselves. So it does make sense what you're saying about the whatever arises within us. It's there for us to love it, like from that pure space of love, the creative, you know, force that's animated it all. So it's coming from that. Like if we've created it, then we've put it there for a reason. So if we come from that love space, then it can exist as it is without labels and without judgment, and then it just flows through us more than we hold on to it then, and we get stuck in stories, which often then looks like we don't love ourselves, and therefore we can't love other people outside of us. Then we can't love the other aspects of our consciousness as they show up, when we can't actually even do that for our own expression that's coming through us in the human body.
Yeah. And I definitely argue, because I have definitely heard people say, I don't love myself. And it really pushes my buttons, and it has done for a long time. And it's like, why does it push my buttons? And it's sort of like, because I actually don't believe it. I believe it's a story that people tell themselves, that they don't love themselves, and to get for whatever they want to get out of it. Like obviously it's got to come from the ego. So whatever the five things that we can only remember, ever 4 of them, about what the ego is looking for.
I came up with a way to remember them. So that
did you? Oh my God! Quick, tell us.
So we have. I'll probably forget now that I've
forgotten. What's the acronym?
So we have. Yeah, there's acceptance, approval, appreciation, security.
3 A's, an S.
And there's one with R.
Recognition.
Yeah. You know, I'll forget one of the other ones.
3 A's, an R, and an S. Okay, I think we can make those up as we go. So somebody sort of, it's almost, I feel like when somebody declares that they don't love themselves, that it is a story that they've told themselves so many times that they now actually believe it.
Yes.
But it can't actually be true, because they are love. So it's like you can't not be loving yourself, if that makes sense, sort of thing. Like it just sort of technically doesn't even work. But, and it's almost in some ways a bit arrogant to sort of say, I don't love myself, sort of thing. Like somehow you've become separate to love, separate to the infinite, and holding yourself separate to everything. And it's
That's
like,
what I was feeling as you said
actually,
that.
there is a little bit of arrogance that goes with that, I've got to say. That's
It's
what
a
feels like.
It's a statement basically saying I'm not infinite by saying I don't love myself. It's pretty much what you are saying. So it is, exactly that.
And what do you want out of that by saying that? Do you want somebody to recognize you or say, oh, no, you know, like, is it attention-seeking type thing in some way as well?
Yes, you rescued.
And have you not done the work to see in your past, you know, your childhood or something that's gone on in your life that makes you then have that story? So obviously that story's come from somewhere. It's been sparked by something, even subconsciously. It's you're trying to now almost manipulate reality to get a feeling of love from the outside world. So from a particular person or your family, or love in general from society, whatever. It's sort of like what's gone on in the past to actually create that story and that belief system, and going back and addressing that sort of thing. It's just like, to me, it feels like the work hasn't been done in actually finding out where did that stem from and what's coming up for you. What are the feelings that are coming up, to then sort of fall back into the space of love and having a sense of respect. I think that's also another thing where we go through life and we talk about boundaries and not giving yourself away, sort of thing, like not putting yourself under everybody else, like putting yourself in the pit and everybody else is on the pedestal type thing. Going through life with that, obviously you are going to have that underlying sense of not having self-love that comes from that thing. And it's like, again, not doing the work to actually bring it back into balance and going, everybody's exactly the same. Like everyone's got the same fears, beliefs, guilts, like every emotion. Everyone has got the exact same emotions going on, different things. They're just playing out really differently. And it is bringing that back into balance. And it's like nobody's better or worse than anybody else, or no experience is. Like that's the truth.
Yes.
So they can't, to me, like when you do the work and you bring everything back into balance again, then there can't be anything but self-love. Like that's all there is. And
it kind of feels like when we say we don't love ourselves, it feels like that focus is always outside, like we're always looking outside at the story of what's going on.
You have
like
to be.
So the story that came from our childhood, or the beliefs that we've carried through, and so then we bring that into the present moment and we keep acting as if that's still the truth, like, and so therefore we can't love ourselves because we keep turning our focus outside all the time. We keep reacting to that story as if it's still happening now. So it comes back to, I think, what we've spoken about before too, about that whole idea that you haven't created enough inner space yet to turn that focus back into yourself. So all you can hear is the outside story all the time. Your mind keeps jumping in with that story and the focus is constantly outside of yourself. So there is no space for you to even, address who you truly are. Like you said, you haven't done the work yet to create the inner space. And then when the inner space is there, then you can easily connect into the infinite, the knowingness of who you are, who you truly are, which is that self-love, if you like. So maybe it just drops the self-love and it just becomes love. It doesn't become about the individuated expression. But I guess if we were going to talk about it from the human perspective, then it does look like the individual self. Like, do I love myself as I am, as my expression of myself? And the more we can do that, then we allow others to just do that as around us as well. Like there's no judgment of how other people are showing up, and they're in our story anyway. So we've put them there. So if we're judging them, then that's a reflection on us anyway. Like that we've still got that degree of separation going on, or still power hidden in something outside of us if it's still triggering us, or we're still judging it or labeling it as something else as well.
And I think really deeply feeling that sense of there's never any mistakes. Like when you really do get that, I feel like it doesn't matter what takes place, and you might fall out of it for a moment, but when that triggers again and says, this can't be a mistake, it's impossible, because, excuse me, everything is part of the infinite. I'm really losing my voice. Sorry. Everything is part of the infinite. So there can't be ever any mistakes. Like it just doesn't make sense that there could be. Everything is placed for a reason so precisely at every single moment that for everybody in the world, and it's just like, how on earth does that even happen? it's sort of like when you really get the essence of that, then it's like, how could you beat yourself up for anything? Like, it's, to me, that's doing the work as well. Like, when you really do have such a strong sense of that, you've given yourself enough space, you've proven it time and time again enough to yourself that your ego can sort of finally accept that, okay, this must be true, that everything does play out perfectly. You've seen it show up in your life and other people's lives around you so many times that even logically it now makes sense. It's sort of like there just has to be that level of acceptance of everything that takes place at that point. Where you do, something happens and you don't react to it. You just go, okay, it sort of is, it is what it is, but it's not just an is what it is throwaway line. You're actually really fully accepting it. So
it's a choice in the moment, isn't it, to react or to allow something to be as it is without judging. And that takes sometimes some time to get to that space of, like you said, like you got to do the work to get to that place. It isn't usually our first reaction to something, is to just allow it as it is. Like, it's, if we haven't worked through the stuff that comes up.
And I think that's it. You know, like, it's probably easy to sit here and say we're all infinite and everything's perfect and we don't need to question anything and all that sort of stuff. And yesterday we talked about process, funnily enough, and we were sort of arguing there actually is no process, that
more remembering.
As far as processing, that's it, like sitting there and processing the past and all the stories that came up and all that sort of stuff. So that, to me, is a bit, it serves a purpose to some degree, but then people get lost in that. But and then we did argue that there was actually a process in terms of remembering, and Shatina was actually sort of saying that, and enjoying the journey of coming home to that remembrance. There has to be a process of remembering that you're infinite. So to me, that is that's the part that takes the time and that takes the work. And that's the thing, is like, if you're not seeing these things, it's because you simply haven't taken the time to do the work. And it takes work, it takes effort. And there's just more work to be done. And it does get easier as we go along, sort of thing. It feels really sludgy at first, but then it's nice to know that eventually you do get to that point where a lot of the time you feel pretty infinite and you feel pretty okay with everything. Like, it's, something will happen and it just doesn't trigger anymore. It's just like, okay, like, that happened, cool, all right.
So I think it's where you train yourself, where your focus to go, because your focus is always going on something. As soon as you open your focus is on something. So you might as well train yourself to focus it on the truth of I am infinite, rather than all the stories that are going outside of us. But we get so drawn into the story that we keep thinking, I'll get to that, and make, self-care or meditation, or even just giving yourself some time out. Like, we always put those type of things on the back burner, but they're always the things that actually create the inner space that actually lets us come home to that feeling of knowing who we truly are. But it's always like an afterthought. Like, the ego keeps us very busy and distracted, which is its purpose.
Just keep us busy.
So it's like, where do you want to put your focus? Like, it's going somewhere, so you might as well choose. You may as well make a conscious choice of where it's going, which is what I feel anyways. It's like, why not put in the time and the effort to doing that, if it makes everything flow so much easier and you have a much more enjoyable experience. I mean, that still sounds like a judgment when you say more enjoyable, but you get to play with
like that, though. Like,
it's more like fun. It's more of a fun, playful experience where everything, you get to be sort of surprised and delighted, as we've talked about before, about what comes through, rather than feeling like you have to create things, or it's a struggle to create things. So it does feel, in terms of the body, it feels like that more expansive feeling rather than contractive, like we've spoken about before.
And it's sort of nice. We've talked about this before. Like, this was a concept we were introduced to by Bob Scheinfeld in his course, which was Busting Loose from the Money Game. And he showed a really good video, which was, a building that had taken obviously months, to construct. And they put, quite a few sticks of dynamite in the bottom sort of foundation. The whole thing collapses. And he said, that's virtually how it happens, in terms of breaking down some of these beliefs and patterns and things that have taken so many years to build, and the stories that have gone with it and stuff. But if you can find those foundational things, which to me are sitting with the emotions that are coming up, like they're the foundations, allowing them to come to the surface without judgment that they're there, without the story of why they're there and where they came from, the pure feeling that's coming through, and allowing the space for it to come up, pass through your body generally and through your psyche, and then disappear, and then it's gone.
Yes.
So to me, that is that visual I keep having of it's that quick to pull these things down, and that's the work to be done. Like that is sitting with the feelings and the emotions. Like the story is just there to bring up those stories and emotions. It's not there to get caught into as such. Like it's simply there to remind us of who we actually already are.
Yes.
So Jody just said, I've had massive shifts listening to you gals, most days for the last couple of months. These daily reminders have shifted how I see my stories. I really agree with that. Like it's, if there is, as I said, like if there's any process to be done, it's this remembrance process that goes on. And it's like, how long does it take to really 100% remember in every moment? Oh, that's why I'm infinite right now. I don't have to do it this way, or I don't have to abide by that rule, or this could be so much more expansive than what I've come up with right now. Like it's just, I'm okay with the space and the nothingness, like all these things that represent the infinite. And it's like, when do you get really comfortable with all that stuff? And it's just so automatic. Like we can really program if the mind actually is a computer system, and that's all it can do is pull out what it knows already, then we can reprogram it. It's not hard. We've just got to keep doing it. Yeah.
And we have to look at those emotions, well, not look at them, we have to feel the emotions when they come up and not push them away too, because it is our resistance to feeling something that makes it keep sticking around. And so even that whole thing of like, if you want to create a lot of abundance and money, but if you can't be comfortable with having no money, then like that's still a resistance to something. That's still a pattern that could come up. And so your resistance to, I just want to stay out of having no money, I don't want to be poor, sort of thing, that resistance still means your ego is kind of running you, and it is still pushing you towards making abundance rather than knowing that you are the abundance as well. So there's that difference between feeling it.
That's definitely an interesting journey. Like it's one that Jody and I can 100% relate to. And I got to say, where I would say 100%, well, okay, there's never 100% probably, but really, really comfortable with having no money, because we've just had that same experience so many times over, to the point of like complete frustration of why are we creating this again? But it is like, I'm actually quite grateful we have had that experience now, because you do then know who you truly are in terms of abundance. It's like, oh, I'm the abundance. It's not actually out there. Like that was the illusion. And nothing actually can affect me. Like when you sit there with literally no money, you might have like 25 cents or 25 euro, and you sit there and going, I'm actually okay. I'm breathing. I actually have some food. I don't need anything more right now. Like I'm actually okay in this moment. And if I need money in another moment, I guess I'll have it. Like, and sure enough, it creates itself. Like it's like, oh, actually, that's actually okay. Like it doesn't matter. So Louise is saying, and to see how many stories we've created, I need a cricket bat to whack them and show them up. And then Jody said, that's a great visual. Yes. Yeah, definitely. It's and I think a big thing has been for me on my journey about being gentle. There's such a, I don't know, maybe because I'm an Aries or something, and sort of I can very easily get caught in an aggressive type energy. Not an aggressive as in, wanting to fight everybody, but sort of it is like this, it feels like a bit aggressive towards myself at times, like, why haven't I done this and why haven't I done that, and should be doing this, and you're pressuring yourself the whole time, sort of thing, for different things. And it's like, when I remember, and I do take some outside remembrance every now and then, like from my horoscopes or something, Gaz might sort of mention about being a bit more gentle with things. I do remember that, like, and I actually have a day that's a lot more free flowing, and I feel more relaxed, and it's sort of like these and I have heard the term many times, looking at the world with gentle eyes type thing. And it is that. And it's like we get so caught in the judgments of, oh, this person did that and they shouldn't have said that. And now I'm affected by this and blah, blah, blah. And it's like everybody's just doing the best they can in every moment type thing. And so are you. And it's like you can only deal with what you've got in front of you. Like if you don't know something right now, then you don't. Like, so it's sort of like, it is that gentle eyes. And I think that's a really nice thing to remember, that gentleness on yourself and on other people and on the world. Like, it's okay that things are not turning out the way you want them to be. And it's only our expectations that really fuck it up at the end of the day, like where people are sort of like, where we're sort of judging things. It's like, if we didn't have those expectations, we'd probably be completely okay with things.
There's still a lot of resistance to what's happening outside of us. So there's a lot of, against energy, like activism and things like that. There's still a lot of
quite natural, doesn't it? Like this
negative, like what are we standing for rather than what are we fighting against? It's just a completely different energy when we come from that space. And the same for ourselves. Like, why are we fighting against ourselves all the time? It's like, we should be our own best supporter sort of thing. It's like that whole thing about you wouldn't talk to your best friend the way that we talk to ourselves sometimes. Like, why do we do that? Like, it's kind of, why don't we do the same thing for ourselves?
Why do we do that? Let's ask the question. Why do we do that? Like, because I feel that. I feel like definitely for all the stuff out there about positive thinking and this, that, and the other, I feel, and I'm going to say this, that as a human species, we tend to have a more focus on a negative, that sort of beat yourself up, I haven't done good enough. Like, I know this is all ego stuff because that's what the ego, its whole premise is, I'm not enough, so it has to go out and find more of anything, which generally is more love when you break it down. But it's sort of like, so it has its natural essence as negativity. And it's sort of like, it's so interesting when you really look at the way you speak to yourself and the way you treat yourself and the way you even sort of underlyingly treat others and things like that. There is this sense of negativity that goes on, sort of thing. Like, it's this beating up, it's not good enough. Something has to be fixed, changed, or improved somewhere along the way. It's just interesting to observe, like, if that's what's going on, if people are sort of are feeling that they don't have self-love, then to me it's coming from that essence. It's not that they don't have self-love. Like, I actually feel like it's there. Like, and I think that's why it bugs me so much, because I feel deep down inside everyone has self-love for themselves. And you don't need to go and find that. But we've just layered a whole bunch of shit over the top of it.
Yeah. I had read somewhere, I can't cite the article of the study, but something around that, as our human, like, instincts, if you like, are definitely respond more to negative influences. I think it's that whole fight or flight instinct thing that's built into us, that we have more of a motivating kind of energy that moves through us, if you like, when there's something negative outside of us that we have to kind of move towards. So I think some of it is just our natural biology that we're kind of fighting against a little bit. But then also we have that overlay of society around us, of course, like things like just watch the news. It's all geared towards negativity, because it's sensationalism, and that's what people respond to, unfortunately. So it's like, I actually just posted something on my personal Facebook page last night, actually, which I might post on the Infinite Me page, but it was basically like a bit of a take on, like, the news when it says when you've unplugged from the matrix, this is what the news looks like when you start to watch it now. So it's basically like a normal news segment, so they do all the normal things, but then they've overlaid it with, like, a different sort of commentary, and it just sort of talks about all the bullshit that goes on, and how they sort of build the stories and fabricate, we'll cross to this person over here because they look like a really a believable person, and we'll get their take on this. And it's just really quite funny when you look at it, because it's just like, wow, this is every single news story. Like, every single news story fits into that pattern. Like, if you break it down, that's how they all go, and it's all sensationalism.
Hilarious.
So I will post that on the.
I would love to see that. I think that's freaking awesome. What a great visual to take into watching the news if you happen to pass by watching it. Usually when your parents are watching it. Because parents always watch the news. Yeah, that's really cool. I love that.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it, I mean, you sort of could, okay, if we take this from the infinite perspective, okay, we've created all this, so we're the ones that have put in all the negativity for some reason. I guess from my perspective, it feels like it's just more and more of that depth to the story that we've created, if you like, to make it seem
I'm wondering
so
that.
it's so real, so that we go, it has to be, this has to be how it's happening. It's just like we don't then wake up to ourselves, which is the point of the whole game, is to come here to wake up to where we've kept ourselves limited. So if we make the game so real by putting all this stuff in there, we create the ego, we create news around us, we create even our bodies are created to sort of almost be working against us in some ways. It's just like, okay, well, how much more real could we make it? Like, it's like we've got so many different layers that we've hidden the truth from ourselves, and it's just like, wow, we can start to see now. You like, if you do unplug from the news for like a few months and then you go back to it, it's just like you do actually start to see how ridiculous and crazy
it's quite laughable.
It is.
Yeah,
it's just the same story over and over in just a different context. Like, it's just always the same. And then, maybe at the end, the last 2 minutes of an hour-long news segment, they'll do a good news story. It's just like as if that's, oh, here's your token little good news story for the day. But why couldn't the whole 1 hour be that? But the absolute truth is people wouldn't watch it. So that's kind of
that's the thing. Like, it is interesting to explore this almost. It's like we do have this morbid fascination with death and people being murdered, and like, just look at how many shows there are on TV, even free to air. And we have dedicated channels on Foxtel and all the other things around the world that are completely 100% 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all on crime shows. Like, ridiculous. Coming from a police background, it's like, is there really that many people that are interested in police work? And but I don't think it is that. Like, I think now I'm starting to realize that it's actually this morbid fascination with negativity. And it is almost, maybe this is a way to look at it. Maybe it is just a fascination with it. Like, it's nothing more. It's not about buying into those stories or anything. It's almost like seeing the opposite to who we actually truly are. Like you're saying, it's like, if we are only love and we are 100% infinite, where anything is possible in any moment type thing, the only thing that could probably hold our interest as an infinite being then could be the exact opposite of that.
Yeah, I'd say so, yes.
And that's maybe what we've come to have the experience of here, like you're saying type thing, is maybe it is that. Why have we come here, and why are we so limited? Because you're unlimited normally. And so what would an unlimited infinite being do in spirit form, in energy only? What could it actually do to explore more of itself, or know more of itself, or have fun? It's like, well, the only thing it could do is actually limit itself in some way. To have an experience of what that must be like. And maybe that's all we're here for, is to have an exploration of what would it like to be to now be limited, to have time, have space as an actual thing. We're not talking infinite space, we're now talking 3D space. To not have money, to have murders, to have death, supposedly, to have all these things going on, to have a family that you don't feel like you fit into very well, to have, friends and careers and jobs and all these things, these experiences type thing to experience ourselves through. So, and then go back through the whole journey of feeling really restricted and, oh my God, I've got all these beliefs and patterns and stuff. That's why we don't feel comfortable with all those things, and why we want to get rid of them, is because that's not who we are. So, but maybe it is about just settling in and going, okay, we do have some of those things in this experience, but they're not who we are. They're actually just an experience.
Yeah, maybe it's an example of what happens when you don't, like, if we put things in our world, say, to collect evidence of why things are the way they are or something. I'm just thinking, like, maybe we put those things into our story because it's a reminder of what happens when you don't remember who you truly are. Like, it's kind of a I'm just thinking of, like,
sucked into the story again.
Because I'm just thinking, I've always had a fascination with things like wars, like World War I and II. Like, I've always, like, looked back at the history, and I could never quite get my head around why why those things happened, like how it
Yeah.
got to that point that people
How
found
does
that
it
that
get to
was
that stage?
acceptable. Yeah, that was an acceptable thing to do. Like, and even just, with the world the way it is today, with, just not putting all Americans in this what's the word, like
Category.
in the one category, yeah.
Mm.
But just like the government, if you like, it just in terms of like it's constantly going around picking fights with everybody. That's what it seems like from the outside. It's just like, oh, there's a country that's got a bit of unrest going. Oh, let's go in there and like help out. Like, but let's take their oil and gas at the same time. That's kind of like how convenient. So it's kind of just how many wars have been started or kept going for way longer than they needed to go for, just because of greed or whatever's going. But then people get sent off to fight these wars, who truly believe that they're doing it for their country and they're coming from that true intention. But it's just like, at what point can you bring yourself to do that? Like, I know those people probably are acting on orders and whatever else. It's not necessarily their desire to do it, but it's coming from a drive, a different drive, for freedom or for saving their country or whatever else it's coming from. But there is, obviously has been some people in history, say like Hitler, who was definitely coming from a drive of thinking we are superior and we want to wipe out a whole race of people. So it definitely was coming from a different intent. But I've always looked at that and fascinated, going, what gets someone to that point that they can do something like that? And it has to be that you have totally bought into that story of being completely separate to the universe. And there is no love in that space. So you do have no love for yourself as an infinite being. You don't even know yourself as that. Like, it's just completely absorbed by the ego, as far as ways you could get from your actual natural state. That's what it feels like. So I've always had that fascination, kind of going, what is it that drives people to that? And it has to be that the love is just completely missing. Like, you're not even acknowledging who you truly are. I feel, to be able to bring that in. But yeah, maybe from the outside, like me looking at that is a reminder for me of what happens when you forget who you truly are, like, and you move away from yourself and don't do the work to remember who you truly are. Then I could play out that in my human game if I wanted to, I suppose. And it's quite possible. So
everyone's probably capable of it. But yeah, obviously the majority of people don't let themselves go there. And I do feel that, I don't know, it's interesting. Like, then there's also a judgment that what happened in some of those circumstances is not balanced, that it was all negative and not positive. So I think you have to look at that situation, whatever the situation is or whatever the person is, and go, they weren't all negative. There had to be a positive aspect to that. So, and you choose to see the other side of that. So in actual fact, there is always love. You never escape that. And it's up to us to see both sides to any situation, to any person, and bring that back into balancing, back into love, the love space.
Or when we do that, as you said, like if you're looking at events or people or like natural disasters, say, for example, like it could be easy to judge those as bad. But then you look at what happens on the other side of that when things happen, like people rally together and they come together to help out their neighbours and they, that type of thing. So there is always the good, if you like, is happening on the other side. And maybe sometimes those things happen because it's evolving consciousness to wake up to itself and to move more into the love space.
Yeah, maybe it is actually like how many people have woken up from, say, the story of Hitler and gone, no freaking way are we going back there ever again. Like, that is just like you just said, it's just like such a mental space to be in. Like, how could you possibly do that? And then it's like, that will never happen again. We will make sure that. And suddenly, we've come to a new space, a new quantum leap in consciousness, and in awareness for people, to now not have that again. We probably will never have that again in the world, to that degree, because we don't need to. It woke us up, hopefully. Who knows? But Jodie say here, funny awareness I was given once was to look for the single shoe focused on an accident scene, totally manufactured to create the drama. in the crime shows.
That's true.
Single shoe, and now everybody will walk out for the single shoe you watch.
Yep. Yes.
Oh dear.
Always the obvious clue is right there in front of the person that's investigating or something.
Yeah, that's fine. Very cool.
Yes.
So my take on it is there is only ever self-love, because there is no self at the end of the day. That's the illusion.
Yeah.
But there's always love. And we might have told ourselves a story so many times over that we actually have now believed it, and that's all that's happened. And you can let that story go in a moment if that's what you want to do. And suddenly self-love is there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need to be, I don't feel a need to be any more complicated than that. It's a decision
I
at
think
the end of the day to feel it.
It comes back to what we were saying yesterday about the whole thing is just a remembrance of who you are. So if we just keep doing that over and over again, if there was going to be a process, it's just that constant reminding yourself of the truth of who you are. So that I feels the same with the love, is reminding yourself of I am the love, I am the infinite consciousness that created it all. So I can't be anything other than that. But it is a training, if you like. That's what it feels like, or an unlearning of what you thought was true. Coming home to who you truly are.
Yeah. And it's interesting doing these conversations like we've been going, we're almost tomorrow. We're at 2 months. We've done 2 months every day. Yeah, it like just the shifts that have happened in those 60 days now, of having these conversations. It's like everything has changed. Like I go to say something or think something, and it's like, no, that's not it. And it's just it's happening. It's already happening. Like this total focus on the infinite constantly is like infiltrating everything. It's infiltrating Jody now, and being around that energy. We're having totally different conversations. We're sitting there having dinner last night, and I went, wow, we're actually having a really different conversations now. Like we never used to have these. It was always about marketing and our products, and which was entertaining to some degree, but now we're having really rich conversations about this stuff. And it's like, oh wow, our whole relationship has actually changed because of this now. Like it's really cool. And now connecting with different friends and stuff that are watching these videos, and we're having different conversations, and it's like, oh, this is awesome. Like it's happening. Like not only is it happening to me, but it's happening to the people around me now as well, which is just so freaking awesome, because it just means we've got more people to play with. And it's not taking that long to remember this stuff. But it's every day. It's got to be every day. Because when it's not, you drop out of it really quickly right now, particularly in the beginning stages. I'm sure it won't be like that forever. But
I think the repetition is important. It seems to work, and maybe that is just our physical limitation of our brain. It's that we do require repetition to kind of change neural pathways in our brain. So that's the human body that we're here with. So let's work with it. So
let's work with it. Yeah. Very cool. All right. Let us know in the comments. If you're watching the replay, let us know you're watching the replay and where you're coming from and what you felt about all of this. Do you have self-love now?
Yes.
There's a hint. Very cool.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. It's been awesome. We've had a few people on the live ride. That's what live ride. Great to have you here, guys. Thank you so much.
Yes.
And we'll see you all again tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Yay. All righty. Love yourself, infinite beings.